Rock isn't dead. It's in flux.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt with Rock and Flux, and I'm joined today by Jack Wilson of the band Kid Kapichi. Jack, thank you for being with me here today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So I ask everybody to start off the same way. Can you give me just your background personally in music, and then how Kid Kapichi got started, and a little bit of the background?
Yeah, of course. We come from a town called Hastings in the southeast of England. It's a very musical town. It's a very political town. It's quite a punk sort of town in the least cringy way possible. And we all kind of grew up here. We all went to the same school as each other. And that's kind of the natural thing. If you're not like a skateboarder or something, then you're kind of a musician. So we kind of just fell into that, known each other for years. So we just naturally gravitated towards each other. And being quite a political town and kind of an impoverished town in a lot of ways, we started writing the sort of music that we write at the moment, which is that punk sort of music. So that's how we started. How we got to where we are right now, I couldn't tell you because it's always a blur. But just being very busy all the time is how we got to where we are now, I think.
Nice. It's good to stay busy. So you started in 2018, is that right? Or did you start before 2018? I know your first EP was released in 2018.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how we feel. That's how we feel it started then. Like it was a difficult one. It never felt like there was sort of like a hard start. It was kind of like a soft sort of entry into the world for us. Like, because it's really different. Like I was saying a minute ago, it's really different for us because we just play music together. Everyone just plays music with each other all the time, where we're from. And it's just kind of that sort of environment. So it never really felt like, oh, this is when we began. But I guess you could say, like, if you wanted to go back and check the archives, there'll probably be videos and stuff of us playing from years before that. But I would say that 2018 was when it felt like we actually started writing music together properly, started releasing music. And then 2019 was kind of when we first were like, oh, okay, something's actually happening here. So yeah, I would agree with you, 2018.
Okay. Something I've noticed about your music, and it's probably going to come up several times as we have this discussion. I don't know if it's because you all are British, and like I feel like British people tend to have a wittiness to them. Not everybody, obviously, but there is something about the British humor, right? And so I feel like you have very clever lyrics in a lot of your songs, and it seems for me to be like a theme. When you're writing, do you purposely look for lyrics like that? Like, for example, in 2019, one of your still most popular songs, Death Dips. And like, I think a witty lyric is there, like, I spy with my little eye, which like that is, something that you would say as a kid or, in other situations, you don't really hear something like that in a song very often. So just wondering, like, when you're writing music, is that something that you consciously do?
Yeah, 100%. Like the lyrics for me are so important. I know you get like I write the lyrics with Ben as well, but I think you get some musicians, some bands that aren't really bothered by the lyrics. It's all about the music and everything. For me, lyrics are what got me into music. I like a song that tells a story. I like songs that use the sort of local colloquialisms. I like that sort of thing when you hear the singer's accent. Like for me, when I heard like growing up and Arctic Monkeys were like the big band and still are, that for me was like the first time I heard something that really sort of made me go, wow, like that's, I mean, he's from the north of England, but he's saying words that I would use rather than sort of Americanisms, that you get in a lot of songs, a lot of rock bands and things, which is obviously nothing wrong with that. But that was just the first time I heard that sort of thing of someone talking about what it's like in England, and bands like the Specials and the Clash and the Streets, all bands that kind of sing in their sort of local dialect and use that sort of witty kind of English sarcastic dry humor. I love that so much. So for me, the lyrics are so important, the most important thing for me. So because like sometimes you can hear a song and it can just be like, one chord on a guitar, but if you've got a bit of poetry over the top of it, it still makes it interesting. So yeah, really important for me. And we do spend a lot of time on that. You should see my notes in my phone. It's just like pages and pages and pages of kind of stuff. Like if I'm walking in town or something and I'll walk past someone, I'll hear someone say something, and when you like catch the end of a like conversation and you're like, what were they talking about? And you can kind of make a story from that point onwards. So yeah, the short answer is I think they're extremely important.
I feel like you do some things musically too, though. Like for example, like the song "Puppet Strings," which I feel like you had that on your first EP that you released, and I feel like it was on another release again too. That particular song, unless I'm being mistaken, but it like the guitar is syncopated in that, almost like it's giving like an idea of someone on puppet strings. So I feel like
Yeah.
is that I'm assuming that's purposeful as well.
Yeah, like of course, there's so much goes into all of it. Some of the earlier stuff was much more like things like puppet strings and things. Like those early EPs were normally like me sitting around with a guitar, singing and playing it at the same time. So I guess that you can probably feel that in that song in that way because it is coming from one person. Whereas now we do things in quite a different way where it will be a lot more like the guys will go into a room together and they'll record stuff just like on a phone, and maybe they'll do it for like 6 hours and then they'll pick the best bits, and then that session might get turned into like 3 or 4 different ideas which then Ben will work on a computer, turn into like a full sort of soundscape, and then I'll go in and write lyrics over it and melodies. So it's changed a lot, but like you were saying with puppet strings and stuff, that was definitely like me and a guitar sort of vibe. So you probably can feel that more in it. But so much as much thought goes into the music as it does with the lyrics and stuff. We're lucky that we all kind of have our own little thing that we enjoy doing. Mine's the lyrics and the melody, and the guys love making music. So it's like it's the dream for me because I don't have to do any of that.
So if someone has never heard of Kid Kapichi before and they ask you what song should I start off listening to, what song do you think you would suggest to them?
I would probably say one of two. I'm going to say two. I'm going to cheat and say two. I would say New England, which is the first track on our latest album. I think that one's good to get a understanding of what we're about lyrically and what we stand for, and also to get a feeling of what it's like to live in England at the moment. But that one isn't necessarily the most like sonically like us. Like I think it's quite beat driven, that one. So I'd say if you were going to listen to another song, it would be Rob the Supermarket, which happens to be the second track on that album. Because that shows the other side of us, that sort of more punky, raw, fun sort of thing as well. So those two I would pick. New England, Rob the Supermarket.
Okay. So we're gonna play a clip of each of one of
Oh
those.
no, I messed you up.
It's okay. If you have
Play New England, do New England.
Welcome to the new world, the new England. Come witness the greatness of Britain. Driving around in a German car. Stop for lunch in a sushi bar. Get my news from the Daily Star. Get my kicks from the tits and asses. Never mind about social classes. I'll cast my vote regardless. Is it you can't change all that you want change? Is it you can't change all that you want change? Welcome to the new world, the new England. All heroes, no villains. Double-decker bus and a bowler hat. Bob the Builder, Postman Pat. Social change, no I don't want that. Just sitting eating crisps in my one-bed apartment. Politics, that's not my department. But I'll cast my vote regardless. Is it you can't change all that you want change? Is it you can't change all that you want change? You're such a fool, Britannia. Britannia, fooled again. Britannia, you're so vain. You've gone insane cause you've been fooled, Britannia. Britannia, fooled again. Britannia, you're so strange. You've gone insane. Welcome to the new world, the new normal. Look at us queuing up, so formal. Sunday roast, God save the Queen. Man United with the bootcut jeans. Money in my pocket, no I'm not too keen. That's why I keep voting for the rich and heartless. Bored of all these moaning artists. So I'll cast my vote regardless. Is it you can't change all that you want change? Is it you can't change all that you want change? You're such a fool, Britannia. Britannia, fool again. idiots breathing up the air, huffing and puffing like they just run up the stairs, fighting and cussing like they haven't got a care, but they care about everything that happens over here, not over there.
So let's talk about your most recent album. It's called Here's What You Could Have Won, which is, I'm assuming, kind of like harkening back to like the old game shows that we all used to watch. And it is very politically driven. Can you tell me about like writing the song, some songs like New England, and the thought process behind writing that?
Yeah, so here's what you could have won. It's definitely got that political edge. I like that, that sort of 70s, 80s game show thing, but also that's kind of the feeling in England at the moment anyway of like, when you're like screaming at the TV that someone's going to pick the wrong answer and it's so obvious to you and everyone else, it seems, but they still pick the wrong thing. And that's how it feels like, and then at the end, it's kind of like, and here's what you could have won, looking outwards to the rest of the world and seeing everyone trying to, become closer rather than more separate, which is, what I think is a good way to be. So yeah, when we were writing all these songs, like it was very much like a direct feeling of Brexit, again, where it felt like we were just closing ourselves off from everyone else, which was obviously a huge mistake, and most people seem to know that, but it still somehow went the other way. Yeah, so very politically driven. It's like, I personally am like, as I get older, I get less so, but I've always been angry at how things are across the world, but in England especially. Like, so this album came at a time of like real anger and kind of just sort of being so fed up with how everything is, and how it was continuing to go, and how it felt like it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I just feel like we're a bit of a joke, to be honest. Like I know when we travel and we go to Europe and stuff, you almost feel like embarrassed to be like, yeah, we're English. That album is the sum of all of its parts and everything that was going on at that time, and was just kind of siphoned into 11 tracks.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, we're not probably that far off in America. I think most people, with everything that's going on too, I think probably we feel the same in similar ways.
I didn't want to say, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And it's something that I find interesting, and I always wonder if in England you all have like the same fascination, because like they're obsessed with the royal family over here. I've never like understood the interest in it necessarily, but I mean, what is the feeling of that in England? Do you all care about that, or is it something that people?
It's something that like definitely used to be more of a thing. Like I'd say, like our grandparents and stuff, where it meant a lot more to them, because I think at the time it did mean more, and they were more involved, and it felt like there was a reason for it. There was world wars going on. You have these big leaders, and you do feel like you need leaders in times like that. But in times like this, where firstly all the scandals that are constantly going on, the fact that we've never been less trusting of our government and the royal family, it doesn't help. And the fact that we're going through a massive economic crisis and they're spending millions of pounds on things like that. And we're not, I think it just comes down to the basic judgment of, does anyone deserve to be born into that sort of level of wealth, and especially when people are struggling to survive on a daily basis, simple stuff. And I think as there's new generations, and that's more and more how people feel, I think there are still a lot of people in England, I would say less than half, definitely. I'd say the majority of people definitely feel like this is pointless. Why do we have this? It's, really mental and medieval. But you also get, a smaller percentage of people who absolutely love it. And to speak out against it is, like sacrilege. And, they'll be standing there waving their flags in the rain, but we kind of all see them as a bit mental. I see the fascination from an outsider. Like if I was American, I would find that well interesting. Like I do think that's interesting. I think the royal family is interesting, especially because of how long it's existed, and it's very cool and historic. I don't have any issues with Americans thinking that the royal family is interesting, but if you're an English person and you think the royal family is the be all and end all, then I question why.
And so, I mean, back to talking about like the political side of it, with a song like Rob the Supermarket, it's kind of timely now as well, because everything costs so much. And I feel like everyone's talking about that. Nothing really seems to change with it, but I mean, it is crazy. So I'm assuming that's where that song really essentially comes from. It's just
Yeah.
like the state of things right now.
it was actually kind of just before it all went a bit mental. We have a bit of a habit of like writing stuff and it becoming reality
Ahead of the curve.
really soon after. Yes, a little
Don't
bit,
write
but
about
like
like the end of the world.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's like I got to be careful what we start writing about. But yeah, like it was complete. It's kind of like the songs that just keep on giving because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. It's a bit of a call to arms, that song. Like do what you got to do, basically.
Right. Another one that I found, and again, it goes back to the clever lyrics of it, is I envy you, which it's not even like obviously it's talking about like I envy you, but the way you wrote it was just the letters, and it has the English phrase of boot because like in America we call that a trunk.
Trunk.
So,
Yeah.
but it's like he's at the wheel while I'm trapped inside the boot. So how did that song come about? Because I find like it's very clever and it's also really catchy to listen to.
Thank you. Yeah, that one. So again, this goes back to like the notes on the phone, and what I tend to find happens is I'll check them like after a night out because there's often things that I've written in there that I don't remember writing, and I remember that one being one of them, and it was the letters INVU. And I was just like, that's cool. That's like weird. There's so many times that I've been like, did I write that? I could be nicking someone else's lyrics. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't know who wrote them, but apparently me. So that was just one that like came up, and then I thought it would be a funny song to write about, like how sort of that social media sort of thing of how you're meant to constantly feel envious towards other people. So yeah, that one that was a little bit of a gift from whatever from above because I just woke up with that in my phone.
Nice. And so in the fall, you're going to be touring, I think for the first time, North America. Is that right?
Yeah.
With Nothing But Thieves. How did that come up? I'm sure you guys are really excited to do that.
It's genuinely the best thing that's ever happened to us as a band. Like I think when you're in a band, you can only from the UK, you can only have a dream of like doing Europe and stuff. It's amazing. We love doing Europe, but it kind of feels like your next door neighbor. Whereas America just feels like this sort of wild wilderness, and like I personally have like always been fascinated with America, and I know the guys have too, and just like the landscape and how different it is from one end to the other, and the cultures and the food and the people and the music. So it's always a dream, I think, of any UK band to go and do America and to do it properly like this, where you're going everywhere. So I couldn't be more excited, and it came about because we recorded the album we're talking about. Here's What You Could Have Won with Dom, who's the guitarist from Nothing But Thieves, and he produced that album, and then we just became really good friends with them. And then we did like a European tour with them. We did some UK shows with them, and then we're now doing our next album with Dom. So again, the friendship grew, and we just carried on. And he was like, "You should come to America," and we were like, "Yeah, right," like sort of thing. And then we kind of stole and borrowed, to get the money together to do it, because obviously it's not cheap. Big up to the record label for that. So yeah, we're going, and none of us could be more excited. Like it puts a smile on my face. I'm counting down the days to get over there.
Have any of you been here just in general, or is it you're going to be like your first full time in this country at all?
So I've been once to New York for like 5 days. So I basically consider myself to have never been, because it's like New York is like a bubble, isn't it? And so this is going to be the first time for me. Ben and George have done the same, but LA. So they went to LA. So again, and Eddie hasn't been. So it feels properly like, even though we've been kind of, we haven't really at all. This is going to be the proper experience, top to bottom.
Do you know if are you starting on the East or the West Coast for that tour? Where do
Starting
you start
on
off?
the East Coast to West Coast.
Okay, that'll be a cool drive, because it is true. Like our landscape changes so drastically between the two coasts, and it is very cool to actually see that.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. Like I literally grew up on cowboy films, so as soon as we start going through Arizona and Utah and all of those places, I'm just going to be like glued to the window. But yeah, like it couldn't be better to start. I think we start in Washington DC, and then like go down into like New York and Philadelphia, and then through the South. I think we kind of like go. Well, actually, if you're looking at me, it's like that. We're kind of like zigzagging up and down the country, but from east to west.
Well, I'm originally from Philadelphia, but I live in Phoenix now, and I am gonna try to see you all, when you're here. I think it's in October.
Nice, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm very
Yeah.
excited to go to Arizona. Is it as hot as
It's
I'm led to
beautiful.
believe?
It's beautiful. It's still gonna be pretty hot when you all are here, but it won't be as bad because,
Hmm.
like, in the summer, it gets to,
Good.
like, I don't know what it is in Celsius, but it's, like, 120 degrees. Some
That's
nights,
probably
not
about
every day, but
40,
some days.
45. Yeah, that's hot.
They ground planes sometimes because it gets so hot. So, it's a
Yeah,
different world.
I got very badly burnt in, like, I guess it would be 90 degrees maybe. The other day I've literally got like the worst burn
Oh,
lines on me
goodness.
now. So I'm going to be careful when we get to America. Definitely be
Yeah.
careful.
Well, you're playing indoors though, at least, so
Yeah.
shouldn't be too
Yeah,
bad.
absolutely. We'll
And
be sunbathing on the roof of the tour bus though, like the whole time.
you're playing a festival too, the Aftershock Festival, while you're here as well. And what is your expectation? Because I mean, you've played festivals in Europe before, so do you expect that it's going to be in America like different than those, or?
Yeah, I think so. Like, there's always these sort of like, I don't know whether this is a stereotype or whether it's true or not, but I think the stereotype is that American festivals are much nicer than English ones. English ones can feel like a bit of a battlefield at times, and especially like forget the weather, with the rain and the mud and everything. But in my head, I'm picturing sort of people with flowers in their hair and like that sort of vibe and a bit more sort of peace and love, but whether that's true or not, I don't know.
You've read about Woodstock 99, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I watched it as well. No, i
mean,
hope i hope it's more peace and love than Woodstock 99.
yeah, or not like Fire Festival, although that wasn't here. I think that was in the Bahamas or something
Yeah,
like
they
that.
did that somewhere else, didn't they? But I mean, what should we expect?
Yeah, I mean, it should be, especially it's in Sacramento, so like the weather should be pretty good at that point.
Hmm.
California and Arizona have a lot of sun, so yeah, and I don't think, I mean, people are usually they get along well. Everyone's in a good mood because why wouldn't you
Hmm.
be? Or there to see
Exactly.
music. So
Yeah,
yeah.
cool, that's what I'm expecting.
I think people will take to your music really well. I think it's good that you're playing. I think you going with Nothing But Thieves is going to be great for you all.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it. I think, like, we always get told that, like, just being English is basically being a celebrity anyway in America, is
Well,
what
we
they
we
said.
do, yes, we do like your accents, and we think anyone that is not from here is really cool. So you already do
That's
have that edge.
Yeah, wicked. I'll take that advantage. That'll be the first time.
Talking about touring, how do you all prepare to play live? And like, how much work does it take to kind of like prepare your live show? How often do you kind of practice? And then like, do you have any good stories from previous tours that maybe you do or do not want to have happen again?
Yeah, I mean, you can never really fully prepare because you never know what's going to happen on the night. Like when you're headlining, it's slightly different because you have a lot longer to get there. You got all your crew with you. You can set up, and it's a lot less can go wrong because you're so much there. But when you're a support band, it's kind of like you get in, you get out, and your main aim is to make everyone happy, but also like don't upset any of the crew or anything of the other band because they've got a much more stressful job. So you can never fully prepare. You never really know what's going to happen. We practice. I would say as a band, we practice a lot less than we should, but that's because we've just played together for so long that it's like we kind of just know. When you write new songs and when you have a new album and you're about to play new music, then a lot of practice goes into that. And we'll rent a studio out for a week or something and just play the songs and get them right and everything. But for a tour like this, there will be minimal practice. And yeah, like I mean, again, it's hard to know. Like we've done gigs. I think when we did the Ziggo Dome with Nothing But Thieves in Amsterdam, which is like 20,000 people or 17,000 people or something, and we're on this huge stage, and everything just went wrong. Absolutely everything. It was the biggest gig of the tour, and it was like my in-ears, which like I'm hearing everything through that, just completely stopped working on like the first song. I was trying to like sign to people because you don't want to let everyone know, like 17,000 people, that nothing's working. You don't want to like, that's the last thing you want to do. So I'm trying to like sign to our tech, like these aren't working anymore. I can't hear anything except from the like reverberation of this absolutely huge room. So yeah, if it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong on the most important gig, 100%. Always
That's
does.
never a good thing at all.
No.
Is that your main story, is like something going wrong? Do you have like any interesting fan interaction stories? Like either something that was like meaningful or funny or
I got a funny one. This goes back to like back in the old days of Hastings when we first used to play Hastings all the time. It's our fans now are much more nice, respectful. But we had this guy in Hastings called Naked Richard. That's what he was known as. And basically, he would come to your gigs, and if he wasn't naked by the end of it, it meant you'd done a really bad show, basically. So he did that. But I think the most scarred into my brain and retinas, it was he somehow managed to get a human pyramid going whilst we were playing, to which he climbed on top of naked. So that was a pretty good one, and luckily didn't fall over.
well, that's good. That's funny. It's taking a risk doing that naked, or doing that at
Yeah,
all, and naked, you're especially taking a risk.
he's a risk taker, Richard.
It sounds like it, yes. Any other final thoughts or anything that you would want listeners to know about Kid Kapichi, or anything else that you all have coming up?
Well, I would just say that if you're going to come see us in America, firstly, thank you. We are super friendly, even though we might seem like kind of scary on stage. We're not. And we love talking to people, and we love meeting people after the shows. And any cool advice on food and where to go, we're well up for hearing it. But the main thing to know about us is we don't take ourselves seriously at all. We like to have fun, and we like for people who are watching us to feel like that and to feel like part of a family, and that we're all there and can just kind of let loose for half an hour to 40 minutes. And that's the aim of the game. So come and feel free to be stupid.
And Kid Kapichi on Instagram, your handle is Kid Kapichi. The videos on YouTube, available on all streaming platforms. So everyone give them a listen and come check them out.
Absolutely. Yeah, correct to what you just said.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate you being here with me. It's been great.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, that is correct. I will be there.
Was the accent okay?
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
I want money and I want it now. I'm gonna get it and I don't care how. This is a stick up, everybody get down. I've got my fingers in my pockets, I'm not messing around. I'm gonna rob the banks, the supermarket too. Get my money from the bank and steal the supermarket food. To put the cash in the bag and don't be so rude. Cause I'll be coming back like deja vu. It's what I do. And I'll be coming back for you, it's what I do. That's why they call me deja vu, it's what I do. I want dinner and I want it now. A little something to wash it down. I help myself out, the self-checkout. There's an unexpected item and nobody about. I'm gonna rob the banks, the supermarket too. Get my money from the bank and steal the supermarket food. To put the goods in the bag and don't be so rude. Cause I'll be coming back like deja vu. You got it, I want it, I take it, I need it. You got it, I want it, I need it. This is a stick up, everybody get down. I got my fingers in my pockets, I'm not messing around. It's what I do, and I'll be coming back for you. It's what I do. That's why they call me deja vu. You call yourself security, I run past two, I run past three. I grab myself a new TV, cause I'm so fast you can't catch me. I eat my meals for free, and everything I see is up for grabs, and I'll be back, I guarantee. And this is how the story ends. Banged up for the whole weekend. Was it worth it? It really depends. Well, if you think that I'm a monster, you should meet my friends. That's what we do. And we'll be coming back for you, that's what we do.